What's going on, guys? Hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. So today I want to talk about the one trick that made Warren Buffett a billionaire, right? And how we can apply this trick to ourselves and also make our millions or even billions of this advice, right? So what's the trick, right? The trick is learning from mistakes, right? And a lot of you might be thinking that, this is such a simple topic. Why do you even have to make a video to cover it? But stick with me to the very end, right? So I'm definitely sure you won't regret if you stick with me to the end of this video, right? So you notice my wording was not learning from your mistakes, but learning from mistakes, right? And this is an ability that Warren Buffett really has practiced to perfection, right? He can learn from other people's mistakes rather than needing to make mistakes himself, right? A lot of us, right? And I think this is a good analogy for it, right? A lot of us, when we hear advice, right, even though sometimes we agree with the advice, right, we still make the same mistakes, right? What do I mean by this? Some people you tell them fire is hot, they won't touch fire. But some people, even though you tell them fire is hot, like children especially, they want to play with fire or they try to touch a fire, right? Because they are curious or whatever it is, right? So if you do enjoy the good analogies, make sure to smash up the like button, hit subscribe, and hit the bell button. And that is what I'm talking about, right? If you tell Warren Buffett fire is hot, right? Maybe even when he was a kid, he was practicing this, he wouldn't touch a fire, right? Just the same, like you tell him margin is dangerous, he has never used margin to buy stocks in his life, right? Other than insurance float, right? But that's not that risky, right? So he has the ability to learn from others' mistakes, right? And this is something that we want to try to learn, right? Because if you want to make the mistakes yourself and then learn from it, it's very, very expensive, right? That's what I want to talk about, right? Because a lot of people think that, oh, if you learn from your mistakes, it's fine, right? And I'm not saying it's a total tragedy that you make mistakes, right? Just make sure when you make mistakes, they are small, right? For example, if you want to go to a casino, bring $200. And then when you lose the $200, you realize that a casino is not like your game to win, right? And then if you want to trade stocks or margin, just trade some cryptos at 20x leverage, get liquidated, and then you understand that I shouldn't do this, right? But by no means, like, if you sell your business, let's say, for 500,000, and then you gamble it all with 10x leverage, right? You lose all your money. It's going to take a long time for you to recoup, right? So in that sense, the lesson was very expensive, right? Versus if you put like $500 into crypto and you put 10x leverage and then you lose all your money, that is going to take you a short time to recover, which in that sense is a cheap lesson, right? So everyone should have the discipline to follow through with some of their principles and their advice, right? Because the issue is not that we have bad advice or we have bad instincts or whatever it is, right? It's just that we have not enough discipline to follow through with what we say we'll do, right? Basically. And I want to stress mistakes, right? A lot of people think that mistakes are only when you make a decision that turns out badly, right? But actually, the truth is, mistakes are for me, what I consider mistakes are more like if you make a stupid decision in the first place, right? Let's say you put all your money in Dogecoin, right? And you make 1000x your money, right? In the first place, right, that will still be a mistake, depending on how old you are. If you're 18 or something, definitely all your money is just like few $1,000s, right? So it won't take you that long to recoup, right? So that in that sense, that mistake is not as big as let's say someone who is 50 and they gamble all their money on Dogecoin, right? Even if it goes up 100x, right, I still consider it a mistake. Because why? The chances of that happening, right, if you run it through a 1000 times, right, I think maybe 998 times you'll lose all your money, right? So that's how I look at mistakes, right? It's the decision itself, right? If you have a very sound investment thesis and you bet 50% on your net worth on this stock and it goes to zero, right? If your investment thesis was sound in the first place, everything was correct, all the calculations were correct, yeah, sure, it's painful, but to me, I don't consider that as a mistake, right? Because at the end of the day, it's done based on solid fundamentals, right? Rather than I buy Dogecoin because I think it's going to go higher in price and you gamble all your money on that. That to me is a mistake, even if you make money. So I want to take a look at a case study and then I'm going to wrap this out, right? So what happened to Rick Guerin, right? So if you don't know who Rick Guerin is, basically he's like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger's third partner, right? And this was back in the 70s and 80s, right? So you can see this story from Yahoo Finance, the fall of Rick Guerin, right? Prabhat noted that Guerin worked with Munger and Buffett on several notable deals, including See's Candies, right? All famous, and blue chip stamps. However, Guerin faded into the background in the late 1980s. Prabhat wanted to know why. This is how he later described the discussion between himself and Warren Buffett, right? So Rick Guerin pretty much disappeared off the map. I've met Rick recently, but he disappeared off the map. So I asked Warren Buffett, are you still in touch with Rick? And do you know what happened to Rick? And Warren Buffett basically said, yes, he's in touch with him. But Charlie and I, basically, this is Warren Buffett's thoughts, right? So if you read through the lines, this is what he's thinking, right? He always knew that he'll be rich, as he said, if I'm not a millionaire by 30, I'll jump off a building, right? So luckily he didn't jump off that building because he became a millionaire at 31, right? So Charlie and I always knew that that you would become incredibly wealthy. I think that's a error. We would become incredibly wealthy. And he said we were not in a hurry to get wealthy, right? We knew it would happen. We just had to wait, right? Basically, he said Rick was just as smart as us. So this Rick Guerin guy is not a dumbass, right? He's coming from Warren Buffett. Basically, Warren Buffett is saying, I think he's as smart as us, right? So that's a very high praise and a very high compliment, right? But he was in a hurry. So what actually happened? And some of this is public information. That in the 73 and 74 downturn, Rick was levered with margin loans, right? So basically, he took on margin debt, right? And this is not like a dumb guy, right? I want to reiterate, right? This is a guy that Warren Buffett says is just as smart as him, right? But he was basically greedy, or he was in a rush to get rich, and basically he took on margin, right? And then when the stock went down almost 70% in those 2 years, he got margin calls out the yin and yang, and he basically sold his Berkshire stock back to Warren Buffett, right? Warren actually said, I bought Rick's Berkshire stock at under 40 a piece, right? And so Rick was forced to sell shares at 40 a piece because he was levered, right? And this is the thing with leverage, right? Of course, when it's all going up, you're very happy because you're making so much more money than you will if you just buy the stock, right? But what if the other side happens and it goes down and you're forced to sell at rock bottom prices because you have no choice, right? And remember this $40 dollar price tag, right? Because it's not even on this price graph, right? But you can see that today, Berkshire, one share is $469,000, right? Nice. So basically, you can see that he missed out on what? This is a 10,000. Yeah, he missed out on a 10,000x gain. So can you imagine one mistake like that? You miss out on a 10,000x gain. You don't even need to buy any other stock other than that. Even if you have $10,000, right? You'll be set for life. But why? But he was forced to sell at $40 because he was levered, right? So based on the figures highlighted in Buffett's 1984 essay, the Guerin partnership lost around 42% in 1973 and a further 34% in 1974, right? So basically, they lost about, all in all, I think nearly 70% of their assets. So however, in the years after, he quickly recovered those losses, earning 31% for partners in 1975 and 128% for partners in 1976, right? But according to Warren Buffett's essay, between 1965 and 1983, Guerin's partnership produced an annual compounded return of 32.9% excluding fees, right? So I think with fees, it'll probably be closer to 20% because they take 20% of the profits, right? And also they have a management fee, right? But all in all, still very impressive. So let's say even if it's 25% or even if it's 20%, that is matching with Warren Buffett's basically performance, right? And you can see that Rick Guerin is nowhere on the world's richest list. And this is because he made those small mistakes, right? I would say, okay, not a small mistake. He made one big mistake once, right? And it was just over for him, right? So these figures appear to show that Guerin lost a significant amount of money in the bear market. And while it's true that he did recover partners' money in the following years, that should not be what we take away from this case study, right? And I think most likely that he didn't recover all his money, right? Let's say he started out with 100,000. I think even though he has that outperformance in those 2 years after, right, he won't be back to 100,000, right? Because first of all, the partners will withdraw money, or you have living expenses that you need to use the money for. So I don't think he went back to 100,000, right? Even if with that spectacular performance, maybe he went back to 50,000 or something like that, because he lost so much money at the time, right? So basically, don't take away that, oh, you can always come back from this. Yeah, you can always come back, but the issue is most people, right, they would quit before they have the chance to come back from that kind of mistake, right? Can you imagine you lose 34% in 1 year, and basically you're getting margin calls left and right? Basically, maybe when people are getting margin call, maybe they would have quit already, or they would have get demoralized, or they would have given up. And even like, let's say you have investors, your investors pull out all their money, right? Because they'll probably think like, this idiot doesn't know what he's doing, right? So yeah, basically, we can look at all these case studies, we can read all these things, and we can learn from it, right? But a lot of the times, right, we actually fail to learn from it, right? Because I think even though this story is from the 70s, there's still so many people losing money to margin calls throughout the 80s, throughout the 90s, throughout the 2000s, right? Even this year, I think the current downturn is inspired by a lot of margin calls, right? Basically, just learn from others' mistakes if you can, and if you need to make mistakes to learn, make it small, right? Make it so that is big enough to be painful, but small enough that you can recover from, right? That's about all I wanted to share today. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to smash up the thumbs up button, hit subscribe, and hit the bell button. And with that being said, hope you have a fantastic day ahead, and peace out.